Chapter 4391. In the face of the couple's exclamations, Chin-Chu only said indifferently, "Do you dare to drink?" "Of course, why wouldn't I?" "I've never been convinced by your alcohol tolerance," Gao Ran clamored. "I'll risk my life to accompany you." Zhu Lingling smiled as well. Just like that, the three of them quietly ate supper in the private restaurant. Chin-Chu seemed to be a little more talkative than usual. At first, the three of them were just chatting about trivial matters, but as they chatted, they somehow talked about their high school days. "Hey, Chu. Tell me, there were so many beautiful girls in second high back then. Why did you fall for Huamin?" Gao Ran was also a little drunk after 3 rounds of drinking, so he didn't know what to say. Not to be outdone, Zhu Lingling pinched her husband. "What are you talking about? What's wrong with Mian? She's so outstanding." "No, what I mean is, back in school, everyone was still young. At that age, people usually looked at faces. How could they know anything about inner beauty? That's why many boys had a crush on the school belle. Speaking of which, I get angry. Didn't you also have a crush on the school belle, Wang Ranran? After I confessed and was rejected, didn't I change my target?" Gao Ran smiled. Chin-Chu watched the couple bicker and smiled quietly. "Chu, if time could go back, would you still choose Mian?" "Yes, I would." Chin-Chu didn't even think about it. "Look at him, look at you." Zhu Lingling's face was full of disdain. "I say, Chu. Tell me the truth, am I right? Huamin really isn't that good-looking. Why are you so stubborn?" Gao Ran always felt that Chin-Chu wasn't telling the truth. Boys were all visual creatures. Everyone would like a girl who was good-looking at first sight. Chin-Chu flicked the ash off his cigarette, and his thoughts were brought back to many years ago. "It's a feeling. It's a feeling. When I saw her, I felt, my heart beat faster. It's a familiar feeling." Although it had been many years, every time she thought back to the first time she saw Huamin in person at school, she would still remember it. Chin-Chu still felt a rush of excitement. That feeling was still unforgettable. Chu, if you could go back in time, would you have to go to kindergarten with Huamin? That way, how many years would you have known each other? Gao Ran's words were a joke. To her surprise, Chin-Chu replied in all seriousness, "I'm not that greedy. If I could turn back time, I wouldn't have left the country, and I wouldn't have lost the 7 years I spent with her." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran looked at each other in silence. It turned out that Chin-Chu cared about the 7 years he spent apart from Huamin. No one knew how he spent his days and nights abroad. Almost every day, he missed Huamin. 7 years wasn't a short time. How many people could endure 7 years and still have the same feelings? No one else knew about Chin-Chu's feelings for Huamin, but Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling knew very well. The two of them had witnessed everything from the beginning to the end. Chin-Chu and Huamian had encountered too many obstacles along the way. Thinking about how they didn't know where Huamin was, Gao Ran suddenly felt sorry for Chin-Chu. "Chu, everything will pass, everything will get better." Gao Ran comforted him. "Old Gao, Lingling, let's get engaged when we were kids," Chin-Chu suddenly said. "Sure, aren't we already in-laws?" Zhu Lingling thought he was joking. "I'm not joking this time, I'm serious. If something happens to me and Mian one day, please take care of my 2 children." After Chin-Chu said this, Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling's expressions both changed. "Chu, what are you talking about?" Gao Ran's face obviously darkened.
Chapter 4392. Chin-Chu just smiled calmly. "Don't be nervous. I'm just making an analogy. Don't talk nonsense. It's New Year's Eve. It's inauspicious to talk about this. Yeah. Why are you talking about this all of a sudden? Zhu Lingling also felt Qin Chu was a bit strange. We're all adults and should think about our children. It's not auspicious or inauspicious. It's just like some people buy insurance for themselves when they're still alive. It's just a safety measure. I'm rich, but Pudding and Little Bean are still young. If something happens to me and Little Bean, my parents will be old and my 2 daughters won't be able to support the family. I think Bu Yuan and Little Bean have been having a good time. If possible, it's good for them to get married when they grow up. Qin Chu took a sip of wine and said these words with a smile. Maybe Qin Chu was too persuasive. Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran didn't reject him as much as before. You don't say. It's a good idea. I think Bu Yuan likes Little Bean very much. Little Bean's words are more persuasive than mine. At the mention of the 2 children, Zhu Lingling was immediately energized. She, as Little Bean's biological mother, always teased Bu Yuan and Little Bean when they video-called each other. This time, hearing it from Qin Chu's mouth, Zhu Lingling was quite happy. At least she knew Qin Chu approved of Bu Yuan in his heart. After all, Qin Chu doted on his daughters so much that he could give them to Bu Yuan. What did it mean? It meant that Bu Yuan had a high position in his future father-in-law's heart. Hearing this, Gao Ran was also excited. He looked at Qin Chu with a cheeky smile. It's okay for them to get engaged. How much dowry will you prepare for Little Bean? Look at your useless face. Zhu Lingling punched Gao Ran, making him grimace. Qin Chu knew that they were joking, so he wasn't angry. If Bu Yuan treats my daughter well for the rest of his life, I'm willing to give him half of GK, Qin Chu said generously. Just like that, the 3 of them drank and joked about the marriage between children. Qin Chu could be considered to have given him an order. In fact, even if he didn't say it, if something really happened to him and Mian, Gao Ran and Zhu Lingling wouldn't leave the kids alone. After Qin Chu finished speaking, he felt more confident in his heart. On the other side of the earth, in the underwater palace, Suyu felt like he had a dream. He dreamt that he had entered a marine park. There were many fish and jellyfish inside. Just as he reached out his hand to touch the jellyfish, he felt a stinging pain from his wound. He was stung. Hiss. Suyu woke up from his dream in pain, then he found that he was no longer in the small house at the Arctic supply station. He was lying on a large bed, surrounded by transparent glass. Outside the window was the underwater world. There were all kinds of fish swimming, and it was especially beautiful.
The first thing Suyu did when he woke up was to look for An. However, after shouting for a long time, there was no sign of him. Strange, am I still dreaming? Suyu reached out and pinched his face, but it really hurt. At this moment, the door was pushed open. A woman in a white robe looked at him expressionlessly. You're awake. Who are you? Where is this place? Suyu recalled carefully. After talking to Qin Chu told him not to act rashly, so he and An returned to the supply station. After eating a bowl of instant noodles, the 2 of them lay down. Then, they fell asleep, but how did he end up here? What the hell was this place? Suyu, do you want to see Huamin? The woman asked him. Suyu's body trembled slightly. The name Huamin enlightened him. He should know where this was. Chapter 4393. Huamin had been getting more and more frustrated recently. Linya hadn't come to look for her for a long time. After the last time she met her father, she hadn't heard from him. She didn't know what Linya would do to her father and Yen. The only person she saw every day was Messiah. But recently, Messiah hadn't come either, only those maids, who were like walking corpses, brought her food. Huamin touched her stomach. It had been so long since the due date. When would the baby be born? How were her father and Yen? If this continued, she would go crazy before Linya could do anything. When Messiah came in, Huamin was throwing a tantrum. She smashed the table of food into pieces. Miss Mian. Messiah, go and find Linya. I want to negotiate with her. Miss Mian, the master can't see you right now. Does she want to lock me up here for the rest of my life? Huamin roared. Miss Mian, don't be agitated. I'm here today, with an old friend. Old friend? Huamin looked at Messiah curiously, trying to discern if she was telling the truth. She had trusted Messiah before and felt that she was different from Linya. She wasn't that crazy. Later, she told Linya that they had both lived for hundreds of years. Huamin was completely confused. Later, when she chatted with her father, Huamin realized that her father didn't trust Linya either. Therefore, Huamin felt that Messiah's words couldn't be trusted. After all, in order to achieve their goals, they would do anything and make up any lies. Messiah turned around. Bring him in. Then, Suyu was brought in by two maids. Huamin never expected to see Suyu here. He was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. Suyu. Huamin's eyes widened. Mian. Suyu never thought that he would be able to see Huamin so easily. Suyu, why are you here? Huamin excitedly walked over and grabbed Suyu's sleeve. Suyu was no longer wearing a down jacket. Instead, it was a light linen robe that was given to him by the people here. It was very exotic, but it didn't affect his looks at all. Suyu wanted to explain the whole story, but seeing that there were so many people in the room, he thought it would be inconvenient. Miss Mian, Master said, that you should catch up with your old friend. After saying that, Messiah and her men picked up the food that Huamin had smashed and left. Only Suyu and Huamin were left in the room. Mian, Suyu really wanted to tell her everything. However, he saw that Huamin's gaze was a little strange, as if reminding him that the walls had ears. Suyu understood, so he started to talk about things that weren't important. Mian, we all miss you, he said. Me too. How's my husband? Did Layla? No, Chin-Chu already knew that something was wrong with her, so he never had any intimate contact with her. Don't worry. Suyu seemed to understand Huamin's thoughts very well. Before she could ask, he told her everything. Although he knew this would happen, Huamin was still relieved to hear Suyu confirm it himself. Is the baby okay? Seeing that Huamin's belly was still bulging, Suyu was a little excited. The little guy is fine. Does that mean he's already past his due date? How long has it been? Suyu thought that the little guy had been born long ago. Yes, it's been 22 days. How could this be? Will he be okay? Suyu looked at Huamin's belly worriedly. At this moment, Linya was watching Huamin and Suyu's every move in the hall. Master, is it appropriate for them to meet? Suyu will bring a lot of information to Miss Mian. Won't it be more difficult for us? Chapter 43-94. Linya only smiled faintly. I think Suyu came at the right time. Isn't that wretched girl worried about her best friend the most? On the other side, Chin-Chu, Zhu Lingling, and Gao Ran drank until midnight. The three of them were already drunk. It seemed like Chin-Chu hadn't indulged himself like this in a long time. His personality was different from Suyu's. Suyu had a fiery personality. If he was unhappy, he would drink and feel better. Chin-Chu wasn't like that. All these years, he had always been like water. No matter what happened in the outside world, he would do whatever he wanted. When he was in a bad mood, other than Huamin, he wouldn't listen to anyone else. When the three of them sat together, they couldn't help but think of the past. Chin-Chu also drank a lot, which was rare. Old Chin. I'm so happy today. I haven't had such a good drink in a long time, Gao Ran wobbled as he walked. Zhu Lingling supported her husband. My husband has been under a lot of pressure recently. For some reason, the municipal bureau has been working overtime until late at night. There have also been so many murders, and he hasn't been given an explanation. The higher-ups have been putting pressure on him, and as a housewife, I can't help. So, tonight, it's rare to see him so happy. Chin Chu, you're the best. Zhu Lingling's cheeks were also red as she gave Chin Chu a thumbs up. I called a designated driver for you guys. Go back and rest early. What about you? Gao Ran looked at Chin Chu. I called a designated driver too. I'm going home to rest too. Okay, today was very enjoyable. Let's fight another day. Gao Ran didn't know what Chin Chu had decided or where he was going. Therefore, he only thought that he was in a bad mood today and wanted to get drunk. Chin Chu stood where he was and watched Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran's car drive away. Then, he did not call for a designated driver to return to South Hill Manor. She went to the first hospital. He went to visit someone. Yes, someone who had been forgotten by everyone for a long time. When Chin Chu walked in, Jixin heard him and quickly stood up. Brother-in-law, why are you here? During this time, Jixin had been taking care of his mother and Bella. Bella had been unconscious for a long time. In the beginning, everyone came to visit often and even felt sad for Jixin. But as time passed, it faded away. It was unknown when Bella would wake up. The surgery was performed by Chin Chu. He was very clear that Bella's situation was very bad. To put it bluntly, she might be in a vegetative state for the rest of her life. Bella and Jixin hadn't been married for long, and they didn't even have a child. Thinking of Bella's accident, Chin Chu felt guilty. If he had killed that monster Jingde earlier, such a tragedy would not have happened. Bella had been on her guard for a long time. Her only mistake was telling the fake Huo Min about this. That was why she was killed. If Chin Chu hadn't performed the surgery himself, Bella might have been a corpse. Yeah, I'm here to see Bella, Chin Chu said. Brother-in-law, have you been drinking? Jixin was surprised to smell the strong smell of alcohol on Chin Chu. He knew that his brother-in-law rarely drank so much. Chin Chu didn't answer. He just walked to the bed and looked at Bella. Has Bella not moved at all? What did the attending doctor say? Hearing this, Jixin's eyes dimmed. The doctor comes to check on her every day, but she's still the same. I don't know when she'll wake up, Jixin. If Bella never wakes up, what are you going to do? Chin Chu looked at his brother-in-law, who was like a little brother to him, with heartache. Chapter 4395. After hearing this, Jixin was silent for a long time. Then, he slowly said, Brother-in-law, to be honest, I've never thought about this. Jixin, compared to many people, you're already a very lucky person. Jixin seemed to know what Chin Chu was going to say, so he quickly said, I know, brother-in-law. There are some things that I haven't said, but it doesn't mean that I don't know. I'm where I am today because of you and my sister. Although I'm not an idiot and have my own abilities, you provided the platform, and my sister took care of my studies. All these years, my sister helped me and our family a lot. She sheltered me and my mother from the wind and rain. So, Jixin, if one day, your sister is no longer around, what are you going to do? Hearing Chin Chu's sad question, Jixin almost burst into tears. To be honest, Jixin had never thought about what he would do if one day, his sister was no longer around. Because in his mind, his sister was a tough woman, a very powerful person. She would be by his side for the rest of his life, she would shoulder all the burdens. Brother-in-law, what's wrong with you today? Are you in a bad mood? Did you quarrel with my sister? Jishin realized that his brother-in-law's mood wasn't right. So he was worried that the two of them had quarreled. No, how could I bear to quarrel with her? Chin-chu smiled bitterly. He hoped that he would have a chance to quarrel with Huamin. But God didn't give him the chance. He didn't even know how Huamian was doing. Then why did you come to the hospital at this time? I have a feeling that there's something on your mind. Jishin wasn't stupid. Naturally, he knew that his brother-in-law was acting strangely. I had a drink with Gao Ran and the others. On the way back, I passed by the hospital and came to see you and Bella. We're fine, brother-in-law. You've been busy enough at the company. My sister isn't feeling well. You have to take care of the whole family. Don't worry about us. Okay, take good care of Bella. When I'm not around, ask Assistant Yang about the company. After saying this ambiguous sentence, Chin-chu left. The more Jishin thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. Why did his brother-in-law say to ask Assistant Yang when he wasn't around? Where was brother-in-law going? But before Jishin could ask, Chin-chu had already left. At 4:00 in the morning, the entire city was shrouded in terrifying darkness. It was as if as long as he raised his head to take a look, he would feel as if he was about to suffocate. After returning to South Hill Manor, Chin-chu went straight to the study and fell into a daze. The video of the twins arrived as promised. Because of the time difference, it always came in the middle of the night. And Chin-chu seemed to have been waiting for this call. Daddy. He. Are you asleep? Little Bean smirked. Yes, Daddy almost fell asleep. My sister said there's a time difference and she doesn't want me to call you. She doesn't want to disturb your rest. But I don't want to. I miss Daddy, why can't I call you? Little Bean pouted. Baby, you're right. Only big sister doesn't miss you, that's why she's being sarcastic. So, Daddy, give big sister less money in the future and give me more. I'm the one who loves you the most. Seeing Little Bean's little thoughts, Chin-chu laughed out loud. Daddy, I'm serious. Why are you laughing? Don't you believe me? No. I believe you. Then do you believe that I love you more than Qin Zhao Zhao? Little Bean was a bit insatiable. Qin Mumu, you gossipy woman. Don't you feel embarrassed talking bad about me behind Daddy's back? Do you think I won't throw you into the river to feed the fishes? Pudding's voice sounded behind Little Bean. Chapter 4396. Alright, both of you, stop arguing. Daddy believes that both of you love Daddy equally. Chin-chu felt a headache coming on as he watched the two children argue. He smiled helplessly and tried to calm them down. It's not the same. I love Daddy more, Little Bean corrected. Little Bean, on the other hand, was especially domineering. Pudding glanced at Little Bean's chubby face calmly. You can't just say that you love Daddy. What have you done for Daddy? Little Bean, what about you? What have you done? Little Bean insisted that her sister was bullying her. I used the money I earned to buy Daddy a lot of gifts. I even made coffee for Daddy. I even ordered supper for Daddy when Daddy worked overtime at night. I even bought Daddy and Mommy a couple short-sleeved Disney t-shirt. Then, Miss Chin Mumu, what about you? I shared my black swan cake with Daddy. Little Bean racked her brains, but she could only remember one time when she ate the black swan cake. She was afraid that her mommy would scold her for eating too much dessert, so she quickly pulled her daddy to have a bite as well and used him as a shield. The whole family knew that Chin-chu didn't like to eat sweet things. However, Little Bean couldn't stand her daughter's coaxing and pestering, so she went all out. She was willing to commit a crime for Daddy. She was simply exaggerating and acting coquettishly. In the end, Mr. Chin, who doted on his daughter to no end, took a few bites of the black swan cake. She originally wanted Daddy to take the bullet for her. Now that she brought it up, Little Bean naturally lacked confidence. And she was immediately exposed by her sister. Chin Mumu, are you shameless? Did you do that for Daddy? That time, it was clearly because you were greedy and were afraid of being scolded by Mommy, so you dragged Daddy into the water with you. You still have the nerve to mention this matter, aren't you ashamed? After Little Bean was exposed by her sister, she was very embarrassed. Her little face flushed red. In the end, she acted coquettishly to her daddy. Daddy, look at my sister. She's bullying me. She's so much older than me. Doesn't she know how to give in to me? You're shameless. We're twins. I'm not that much older than you. Don't try to threaten me with morality, Little Bean retorted. Daddy, look at her, sob, sob. Little Bean had a unique skill, which was to act coquettishly. Every time she couldn't settle something, she would definitely act coquettishly. Furthermore, it worked every single time. Other than the fact that it didn't work on his elder sister, no one else in the family was spared. Seeing his daughter acting spoiled, Chin Chu's heart softened. Alright, you're both Daddy's good daughters. Daddy's heart aches for you. Chin Chu looked at the two little girls in front of him and felt that his heart was going to melt. Daddy, do you think I've become prettier recently? Little Bean touched her face narcissistically. Yes, you're beautiful. Daddy, do you want to buy me some lipstick? Chin Chu didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Little Bean's strange request. Little Bean, what do you want lipstick for? I can't lose at the starting line. When I went abroad this time, I saw that foreign girls put on makeup since they were young. All of them are makeup experts. How can my bare face be compared to theirs with makeup? Anyway, I want all the lipsticks from the big brands and all the colors. Okay. Chin Chu agreed without hesitation. Wow, Daddy, you're so nice. Then you can buy Mommy a set. She'll be very happy, Little Bean whispered. Yes, youth, sis, and Mommy will all get one. Chin Chu smiled. Hearing her daddy's words, Little Bean immediately cheered. Get up, it's my turn. No, I haven't said enough. Obviously, Little Bean didn't want to give it to her sister. Chapter 4397. Are you sure you don't want to leave? I'm sure. But I just heard from Auntie that she and Uncle Tang are going to eat delicious desserts, and your favorite chocolate wafers. Really? Little Bean was dubious at the mention of food. If you hesitate, they'll probably eat it all. Don't say I didn't tell you. Putting use her trump card. Damn it. Why did you only tell me now? Daddy, I'm going to find something to eat. Hearing that her auntie and the others were secretly eating delicious food, Little Bean went all out. She left the camera as fast as lightning, then, took the phone and glanced at her daddy. Daddy. We missed you so much. Yeah. Daddy missed you too. Did you have fun? Yes. Good. If you're happy, Daddy will be happy too. Daddy, it's 4 a.m. in China right now. You're too tired. Don't video call us at this time. Go to bed early. Pudding knew about the time difference and was very smart. She felt bad that her daddy had to video call them so late at night. No hurry. Daddy's not sleepy. Daddy, did you drink? You can even tell. Is Daddy blushing? It was the first time Chin Chu did such an adorable action. He touched his 360-degree face in front of the camera. No. I just feel that there's something wrong with your eyes. Do you have to be so observant? I can't hide anything from you. Didn't mommy tell you not to drink too much? It's bad for your liver. Pudding scolded Chin-Chu like a little adult. I didn't drink too much, Chin-Chu explained guiltily. Is everything okay at home? Everything's fine. How's Auntie? Did she do anything? Not yet. I went to the hospital today. Your auntie is still the same. Thinking of Bella's condition, Chin-Chu felt guilty again. He hoped that after he found Hwamian, they would have a chance to discuss whether to do another surgery for Bella. Maybe there was a way to fix it. Pudding, Daddy has something to tell you. Chin-Chu thought for a moment and decided to tell Pudding. Okay. Daddy, go ahead. In addition to all the assets in the domestic bank account, Daddy also opened an account in a Swiss bank. The account name is in your and your sister's name, the password is your birthday, and the password is your mother's birthday. When you withdraw the money, you need to enter your fingerprints. Daddy, why did you do that? Pudding was puzzled. Don't worry, I've bought a trust fund worth a few hundred million yuan in Hong Kong. They'll pay for your school fees and living expenses. My legal team is managing this matter. The lead lawyer is Mr. Zhang Zhongmin. You know him, right? He was the one who played chess with Grandpa last time. Remember to look for him. Your Uncle Yang has his contact information, you can ask Uncle Yang for it later. I've already divided the company's shares into 5. Other than you, your sister, your uncle, and your aunt, the remaining shares belong to the other shareholders, Chin-Chu said quickly. Daddy, why are you telling me this? What happened? Pudding had a vague feeling that her daddy was acting weird today. Chapter 43-98. The more Pudding listened, the more scared she became. Why did she feel like her daddy was saying his last words? It's nothing. I just want to make things clear. I'm afraid that if something happens in the future, I won't be able to say it in time. It'll be very troublesome. Pudding, Daddy is very grateful to you and your sister for coming to this world, for acknowledging us as your parents. Daddy is very proud. For some reason, when he said the word proud, Chin-Chu suddenly choked up and couldn't continue. He wasn't a sentimental person, but today, he still couldn't calm down in front of his daughter. Father and daughter were really connected by heart. Daddy, what happened to you and Mommy? Pudding was so anxious that she almost cried. Daddy is really fine. Pudding, you and your sister have a good trip. Daddy still has something to do, so I'll hang up first. Chin-Chu didn't dare to say anything more to his daughter, so he hurriedly hung up. It was already 5:00 in the morning. Chin-Chu looked out of the window and felt an indescribable sense of depression. He picked up his phone and called Siyu again, however, it was a busy tone. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be. The phone Siyu had brought with him before he left was given to him by Chin-Chu. It was a special phone with a strong signal. Moreover, the battery was extremely powerful and was specially used by the military factory. Firstly, it was impossible for the signal to be weak and out of service. Secondly, it was impossible for the battery to run out. Therefore, when he heard the beeping sound, Chin-Chu could only feel that something was wrong. After hanging up, Chin-Chu called again 10 minutes later, but it was still the same. An ominous feeling came to him. Could it be that something had happened to Siyu? He didn't listen to him and went to that place to look for Hwamin again. The more he thought about it, the more confused Chin-Chu became. He decided to call Chow Fei and ask where Chow Fei and the others were. Unexpectedly, it was the same. Chow Fei's phone also beeped with a busy tone. Chin-Chu was restless. At 5:00 in the morning, he drove to the city center to look for his mother-in-law. In the underwater palace the moment Huamin saw Suyu, she was happy and pleasantly surprised. However, after chatting for a while, she suddenly had a terrifying thought. Was the Suyu in front of him the real Suyu, or was he a clone of Suyu? After all, this was Lin Ya's territory. She might do something reckless to her and her father in order to obtain the red demon. Mian, what's wrong? Seeing that Huamin was deeply worried, Suyu was also puzzled. Suyu. I've been thinking about the past while I've been here. I feel like time has passed very quickly. It feels like we met in the blink of an eye, like it was a lifetime ago. Yeah, that was fast. Suyu nodded. Suyu, do you still remember the place we met? Yeah, back then, I was recuperating in the hospital. As a newbie at Southside, you were so arrogant that you went against me. You were the first person in my life who dared to talk back to me. Suyu smiled. Thinking back to the time when they first met, Suyu was filled with happiness. He had always thought that it was the fastest time in his life. Getting to know Huamin was a huge turning point in his life. Suyu's answer was correct. Huamin continued to probe, do you still remember what your female artist did to me because she was jealous? Suyu immediately replied, of course I remember. If I had known that Zhao Qingya would become so pretentious, I wouldn't have just sent her to prison. I would have thrown her into the sea to feed the sharks to prevent future trouble. Suyu was right again. However, Huamin was still unsure. This was because she knew that the clone and the main body could share memories. In other words, the clone could see Suyu's memories as long as it used its brain. Then, how could she prove that Suyu was the real Suyu? Chapter 4399. Huamin had never thought that he would suspect Suyu one day. After all, this was a man who was willing to give up his life for him. If it were before, Huamin would never think about this. But now, it was different. When did it start? Everything had become so mysterious and supernatural. It was probably from the appearance of Jingde that the trajectory of her life began to slowly change. Then, Linya, Layla, Hua Xiqian, Jack, and everything else. They all made Huamin feel incredulous, but he had to accept these bizarre experiences and ridiculous facts. Mian, you're a little weird today. What's wrong? Did someone threaten you or bully you? Suyu grabbed Huamin's sleeve tightly. This was a good habit of Suyu. No matter how urgent the situation was, he would not deliberately touch Huamin. He would never take the initiative to hold Huamin's hand, but he would tug at Huamin's sleeve. There was no direct skin-to-skin contact. Suyu, how did you get here? I don't know. I fell asleep. When I woke up, I was already here. Damn it, what the hell is this place? Why is it like an underwater world? How can there be such a bizarre place in the world? Suyu looked around at the buildings in disbelief, as if he was watching a 3D movie. This is Linya's nest. Linya, you're... Suyu was surprised to hear Huamin call Linya by her name. Yes, she's Linya, the mother of my genes. At the mention of Linya, Huamin's attitude turned cold. She's your biological mother. Why would she do this to you? I don't understand. Suyu complained. Huamin smiled faintly. Let's not talk about this anymore. Suyu, are you hungry? Shall I take you to get something to eat? Seeing that Suyu had gone through so much, Huamin wanted to let him calm down and eat something. Without waiting for Suyu to speak, Huamin called for Messiah. Messiah. Miss Mian, what can I do for you? My friend hasn't eaten yet. Can you prepare some food? Sure. With Huamin's instructions, Messiah quickly prepared a table of dishes. Perhaps because she knew that these people liked to eat Chinese food, Messiah had also prepared Chinese food. Other than stir-fried vegetables, there was also roast duck. Huamin followed the old rules and only let Suyu eat it after he tried it. Don't you like roast duck the most? Eat more to conserve your energy. Huamin rolled up a duck cake for Suyu and handed it to him. Suyu was slightly touched. He took the duck cake and ate it slowly. This taste is a little strange, what's wrong? Huamin looked at Suyu. I'm not sure. This looks like roast duck, but it doesn't taste like roast duck. Mian, are you sure this is okay? Suyu was a food expert and had eaten all over the world. His favorite was the famous roast duck in Jing City, and he often ate it in Sea City. Therefore, Suyu could tell the color, fragrance, and taste of roast duck with just a lick. Chapter 4400. It was like an earthquake that came without warning. Suyu subconsciously reached out to protect Huamin, but he lost consciousness. When he woke up again, he found himself trapped in a sealed room filled with white crystals. Mian, Mian. He wanted to get up, but he found that he couldn't muster any strength. He didn't know if he had really seen Mian. Perhaps it was just a dream. En. Suyu called out En's name, but there was still no response. His body seemed to be controlled by something. His entire body was weak and stiff. On the other side, when Huamin woke up, he was already in his room. Suyu, Miss Mian, you're awake. Where's Suyu? Huamin was especially worried about Suyu's safety. Miss Mian, what's Suyu? Who's Suyu? My friend, Suyu. How is he? Huamin held his head, feeling dizzy. Messiah, on the other hand, looked calm. Miss Mian, are you dreaming? I don't know what you're talking about, and I've never seen Suyu. You're asleep. You've been asleep for more than 10 hours. I fell asleep. Huamin was stunned. Indeed, he couldn't distinguish between reality and dreams here. Therefore, Messiah's words confused Huamin. Miss Mian, you haven't been in a good mental state recently. Are you too tired? Huamin shook his head, his expression ugly. Miss Mian, are you hungry? Do you want to eat? In order to create an atmosphere for Huamin to think that she was dreaming, Messiah asked Huamin again if he wanted to eat. Actually, Huamin had just eaten not long ago, but he had just taken a bite when something like an earthquake happened. I'm not hungry. I don't want to eat. I want to rest. Okay, then have a good rest. Call me if you need anything. After Messiah left the room, Huamin lay on the bed and recalled everything. Was it really a dream? She seemed to have seen Suyu, spoken to him, and planned to eat together. Then the earth shook, and when he woke up, Suyu was gone. What the hell is going on? What was Suyu going to say before the earthquake? What did he say? Huamin felt that he had missed something important. Suyu seemed to think of something, but he couldn't say it in time. He felt a sharp pain in his brain. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. However, the more means a mess. The baby in her belly moved from time to time, reminding her that it was still fine. In the main hall, Messiah slowly walked forward and knelt down. Master. How is she? Linya sat in the main hall with a transparent glass cup in her hand. Inside was a blood-red liquid that looked terrifying. Master, Miss Mian is still skeptical. She'll probably think about it for a couple of days. If she can't figure it out, she'll believe us. Okay, where's that kid? He's already under our control and isolated. I didn't expect him to almost ruin our plan. Lin Ya's expression didn't look too good.
I didn't expect Su Yu, an ordinary person, to have such high awareness. We almost lost everything. We must have made a mistake and Su Yu saw through it. Fortunately, we came in time. Master, should we kill Su Yu? Chapter 4401. No, keep him alive for now. That kid seems to be very important to Mian. Okay. What about the person who came with him? Should we keep him alive too? There's no point in keeping such a small character. Kill him. Yes, Master. After Messiah received the mission, she brought people to bring it out and escorted him to the underwater black hole. What are you doing? Let go of me. And struggled with all his might, but it was useless here. It was very strange. However, no matter how An shouted, those people ignored him. Instead, he rudely led him into a tunnel that gradually turned dark. Once you enter the underwater black hole, you'll never be able to come back. You can only blame yourself for following the wrong master and coming to the wrong place. After Messiah finished speaking, she grabbed An's hair and pushed him forward. Wait. A voice sounded behind her. Messiah turned around and was surprised to see Professor Lu. Mr. Lu. Messiah was very respectful when she saw the professor. Perhaps it was because of Lin Ya. Although the two of them had already fallen out over the Red Demon incident. But Lin Ya didn't do anything to the professor. And he was still free. Let him go. Professor Lu recognized An at a glance. As someone with a photographic memory, he knew at a glance that this was someone around Su Yu. Mr. Lu, I'm sorry. This is Master's order. I don't dare to disobey. Obviously, Messiah wouldn't listen to the professor. Tell Lin Ya to let this young man go. I have a gift for her. The professor was very serious. Messiah thought for a few seconds and finally let go of An. Then, she seemed to use some kind of sensor to have a private conversation with Lin Ya. Of course, no one else could hear this conversation. 10 seconds later. Messiah looked at Professor Lu and said, Master said that if Professor's gift isn't sincere, it won't be this young man who dies. Miss Lu Yen will die too. Hearing this, anger flashed across the professor's face. What did Lin Ya think Lu Yen was? Was she an ant that could be crushed? That was his beloved daughter. Don't worry, I'll see Lin Ya at dinner. She'll definitely be satisfied. Okay, I wish you all the best, Professor. Messiah left with her men, leaving Shaoan behind. And came back to his senses. Lu Yen. Lu Yen is here. He's beside himself with joy. Professor Lu nodded and looked at him. You're here. Does that mean Su Yu is here too? I was separated from the boss. I don't know where my boss is now. Where is this place? By the way, I heard them talking about Lu Yen. You are. The professor's previous appearance in Sea City was very mysterious, and Shaoan did not have any impression of him. Therefore, he did not recognize the professor when he saw him. I'm Lu Yan's father. And was dumbfounded when he heard that. Lu Yan's name was enough to shake the mercenary world. And this kind-looking old man was Lu Yan's father?
Then wouldn't he be the famous genius medical scientist, Professor Lu? You are. Professor Lu. 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 Shaoan stuttered. Professor Lu nodded. Oh my god. I actually saw the professor in person. Oh my god. You're someone who even the FBI treats as a VIP. Why are you here? Shaoan had never dreamed that one day, he would actually meet such a legendary figure under such circumstances. The professor did not answer him. Instead, he smiled and asked, Do you know my Yen? At the mention of Lu Yen, An felt an indescribable excitement. Goddess Lu Yan was here too. Would he be able to see her soon? Chapter 4402. Faced with the professor's question, and was very excited. Yes, yes. Not only do I know her, but Goddess Lu Yan is my idol. You and Suyu were captured too. Professor Lu was surprised. Logically speaking, Linya wanted the red demon. In that case, Linya only caught people who could threaten him. But what did Suyu and this young man have to do with him? Professor Lu was confused. I don't know what happened either. My boss and I came to look for Dr. Hua, but we didn't see Dr. Hua. That's how it is. Now that I thought about it, he didn't understand what was going on either. He remembered that the last scene was when he went to the North Pole with Suyu. Then, he rested in the supply station and seemed to have fallen asleep. Then, it became like this. Professor Lu nodded. Professor, do you know if Goddess Lu Yan is here? I want to see her. And was stubborn, very similar to Suyu. He knew that he would never have a chance to interact with Lu Yan in this life. Therefore, he didn't dare to have wishful thinking. However, as long as he could see Lu Yan once, he would be satisfied. In a sense, and was even more pitiful than Suyu. Although Suyu couldn't have Huamin, he was good friends with Huamin and could see him often. Lu Yan, on the other hand, was a mythical figure to him and it was hard for him to even meet her. Yan is indeed here. That's great. And was extremely excited. But she's not in a good state right now. Thinking about Linya's madness and Lu Yan's coma, the professor couldn't express his feelings. Professor, can you show me? And made a request. Professor Lu also wanted to see his daughter, but everyone here listened to Linya. I'll try. Come with me. Professor Lu had an excellent memory. Even after coming here and looking at the maze, he could remember everything. However, as long as he had been to a place, he would remember it, even if it was only once, no matter how hard it was to find that place. Professor Lu brought into the door of the room where Lu Yan was being held. Tell Linya that I want to see Yan, Professor Lu said to the two guards at the door. The two guards looked at each other with blank expressions. Tell Linya that I'll deliver the stone to her later. After hearing this, the guards seemed to be secretly connected to Linya, just like Messiah before. Shaowen stood behind the professor and did not dare to make a sound. He knew that anything that had to do with the professor was very complicated. Perhaps it was because the professor had been here for a few days, this was the first time he had agreed to give him something. Therefore, Linya was very happy and showed mercy. She agreed to Professor Lu's request to see Lu Yan. The professor walked in front, and then walked behind him. The two of them slowly walked into the room. There was only one crystal coffin in the white room. It was white and transparent, beautiful and resplendent. Shaowen couldn't wait to walk to the crystal coffin. Then, his heart seemed to have stopped. The person inside was none other than Lu Yan. Even with her eyes closed, she was still a heavenly beauty. Lu Yan's beauty was one of a kind in 10,000 people. But N didn't like Lu Yan because of her beauty. He liked Lu Yan's temper, personality, and domineering attitude too much. She was always like a queen, high and mighty. Professor, is she dead? Anne's voice trembled slightly. Chapter 4403. Not yet. The professor knew Linya's trick. Linya held Lu Yan and Huamin hostage just to force him to hand over the thing. However, since Lu Yan was the child of Linya's clone, she didn't get any preferential treatment. Huamian was served with good food and drinks. Yan was about to lie in the cold coffin. This made the professor very sad. To him, his daughter was the same. Lu Yan didn't have a happy childhood to begin with. When she grew up, she had to live on the edge of a knife and avoid being hunted. But now, she had ended up like this. Thinking of this, the professor lowered his head, raised his hand, and gently wiped his tears. His daughter was so pitiful. Professor, what happened to my goddess Lu Yan? And looked at Lu Yan lying there motionless as if she was asleep. She was even placed in a coffin. He felt extremely uncomfortable. She was just controlled by some drug and fell into a deep sleep. Was it the people who captured us? Yeah. Why did they do this? What's their purpose? And was angry. He really wanted to raise his fist and kill the bad guy who put his goddess into a deep sleep. And, the less you know about this, the better. Professor, I have something to do. I'll go out first. Then, can I not leave? I want to stay here with Goddess Lu Yan. And was so greedy that he didn't want to leave. He had never had such a chance to protect Lu Yan. Now that Lu Yan was in a deep sleep, he just wanted to stay here quietly with her. If they don't chase you away, you can stay here. But remember, don't fight them head-on. You have to be patient. We have to leave here alive. Okay. Perhaps it was because An was as insignificant as an ant to Linya and was of no use to her. If it weren't for the professor's words, he might have been thrown into the black hole at the bottom of the sea. Not only did he survive, but he also got the chance to protect Lu Yan here. Although he didn't know when Lu Yan would wake up. But for An, everything was enough. After visiting Lu Yan, the professor went straight to the main hall to see Linya. Old Lu, I've done what I promised you. I've let that kid go and allowed you to see Xiao Yan. So, what about your promise? Linya was really realistic. She didn't even bother with small talk and went straight to the point. Professor Lu didn't know who Linya was anymore, and he felt like a stranger. It even reduced the passion and obsession he had for his beloved wife that he had hidden in his heart for many years. I mean what I say. After that, Professor Lu slowly approached Linya. In the main hall, she always looked like a queen. She wore a crystal coffin on her head and a silk dress on her body. Xiaoya, do you still remember this ring? Professor Lu took off his diamond ring from his finger. Linya didn't say anything. Her eyes were as calm as a pool of stagnant water. Seeing that she didn't say anything, Professor Lu continued, I made this myself when we got married. I picked the diamonds myself, and I drew the design myself. Old Lu, that's not what I want to hear. What I want is not your diamond ring. Xiaoya, where's your ring? Professor Lu asked. Old Lu. Don't play word games with me and stall for time. I told you, if you tease me and can't give me what I want, if I get angry, the first person I kill will be Lu Yan. So, don't test my patience. Linya's face was dark as if she couldn't wait any longer. Chapter 4404. The professor smiled when he heard Linya's words. His smile was obviously filled with disappointment. Don't worry. Since I promised you, I will definitely do it. The professor skillfully removed the diamond from the diamond ring. Then, he placed it on the marble table, picked up the stone statue beside it, and smashed it heavily. Linya was also confused by this. At this moment, the diamond in the professor's hand was gone. Instead, it was replaced by a very small red gem. Seeing that thing, Linya's eyes shone with a strange light. Heraor. How is it? I didn't go back on my word, right? The professor smiled, but Linya couldn't wait to walk over and snatch the little red thing. Then, she held it in her hand like a treasure. Old Lu, if you had been so obedient from the start, I wouldn't have wasted so much time talking to you. What about the rest? Hand it over. You can even carry Heartwarming with you. Then, the red demon must be on you, right? Yeah, I have the red demon. The whole world knows that I have it. The heads of state, terrorist leaders, and even the FBI have been chasing me all these years for this. It's actually useless to me, but I know that for those politicians and ambitious people, it's a weapon to dominate the world. You don't like to beat around the bush, and I don't like to either. Let everyone go, everyone you captured, and I'll give it to you. Old Lou, how can I believe you? If I release them, what if you still don't want to give it to me? Since you're so capable, why don't you catch them again? Professor Lou smiled. Linya glanced at him, her gaze indescribable. In the end, the two of them looked at each other for 5 seconds. Messiah. Master. Take the professor down to rest first. I still have something to do. We'll talk later. Yes, Master. Messiah walked gently to the professor's side. Professor Lou, please go back. Professor Lou didn't say anything and obediently followed Messiah out. Obviously, the appearance of the Heartwarming made Linya very excited and satisfied. Linya brought the Heartwarming through layers of undersea tunnels and finally stood on top of a tall crystal tower. Through the crystal tower, she vaguely saw a human face floating in the air. It wasn't very clear. How is it? The old voice sounded. It was a man's voice. Sir, he handed this over today. Linya held the tiny red ore with both hands. Stone of Hera. That person recognized it at a glance. That's right. The Hera ore is the remaining ore element when Old Man Lu created the red demon. However, this is the most important element, and it's also an ore element that can't be regenerated on Earth. That's why it's so precious. Since he's willing to hand it over, this is enough to express his sincerity. I believe, the day of obtaining the red demon won't be far. Well done. The man seemed to be very satisfied, and there was a hint of joy in his voice. Sir, don't worry. Once I get the red demon, in order to hide this secret, I'll destroy everyone here. I won't leave anyone alive, including Chin Chu, who's about to arrive. Weeds must be uprooted to prevent them from growing again. Chin Chu and Huamin have 2 children. Why don't you bring them in as well? My lord, it's not that I don't want to do it. It's just that, there's something strange about those 2 children. Oh. The man seemed a little confused and doubted Linya's words. Chapter 4405. Sir, you have seen my abilities. I naturally won't hold back when I'm working for you. I tried twice with those 2 brats and failed. Then why? The man asked unhappily. This. I don't understand either. I need to investigate further. Forget it. These aren't the most important things. The most important thing now is to get the red demon. We don't have much time left. I understand. Sir, don't worry. I'm confident that Old Man Lu will hand over the red demon for his daughter. Okay. In the end, Linya respectfully handed over the Heartwarming with both hands and left carefully. At this moment, Chin Chu was driving to his mother-in-law's house. The sky in the north was completely bright. It was already 6 in the morning. Chin Chu, on the other hand, didn't feel sleepy at all. He drove his black Bentley Continental quickly on the road with few people. After knocking for a long time, Shaoling opened the door. Brother Chin Chu. Is Granny awake? Yes, she's awake. Come in. Shaoling opened the door and helped Chin Chu get his slippers. Then, she mumbled sleepily, Why are you here so early today? I thought of something important to ask Granny. Oh, okay. Go in then. Granny is eating breakfast. When Chin Chu entered Granny's room, the old lady was eating. There was only a simple bowl of rice paste. Little Chin, you're here. Granny. My friend Suyu. Something might have happened to him. He went to the location we found. But after he got there, he mysteriously disappeared. I called him, but I couldn't contact him. I suspect that something happened to him. He's a good friend of mine and my wife. He went there to help me. I can't let him be in danger. Don't be anxious. Sit down and tell me slowly. The old lady calmly drank the rest of the rice paste. Then, she looked up and listened to Chin Chu seriously. Chin Chu meant that Suyu had disappeared after going there. He was very anxious. He wanted to save him immediately. Let me help you calculate whether that young man is alive or dead, right? All right. After knowing that his mother-in-law had extraordinary abilities, Chin Chu treated her as his last life-saving straw and listened to her every word. Then, the granny took out 6 worn-out Qing Dynasty copper coins. Then, he placed it in a jar, muttered something, and shook it for a long time. Only then did he arrange the copper coins in a row. After taking a look, Granny slowly said, "Your friend is indeed in some trouble." After hearing this, Chin Chu's heart tightened. If something happened to Suyu because he helped him, how was he going to deal with the Su family? At this moment, Chin Chu felt extremely guilty. But don't worry. Although he's in trouble, his life isn't in danger. He's fine now, but he's trapped. It must be those people. Chin Chu was almost certain that the person who had captured Suyu was the same as the person who had captured Huamin. Yeah, that's what I think too. Granny, I can't wait any longer. Give me a date. I have to rush over to save him. I can't wait any longer. Okay, I'll calculate the nearest auspicious day. Wait for me. After saying that, Granny took out an old perpetual calendar and began to flip through it. Chin Chu stood on the side, burning with anxiety. Little Chin, 11:30 tonight is a good time. You can leave now. Okay. Chin Chu was a little excited. When he heard that he could leave tonight, he was ecstatic.
Chapter 4406. After leaving his mother-in-law's house, Chin Chu didn't go to the company. At this moment, he was no longer in the mood to go to the company. He didn't want to care about anything or ask anything. He just wanted to save his beloved wife, including Suyu, who had just been arrested. Chin Chu then bought some fruits and vegetables and went to see the last person he wanted to see. Sky Blessing Court. Chin Chu's car slowly stopped in front of the double-story bungalow. Ever since the incident with Jingde, Chin Chu hadn't been here for a long time. Jixin took care of Bella, and only Yang Meirong was left in the house. Chin Chu also hired a nanny to take care of her daily life. "Mr. Chin, you're here." The nanny was very enthusiastic when she saw Chin Chu. "Where's my mother?" "Madam is upstairs." "I'll call her." "Madam. Mr. Chin is here." After the nanny called out, she saw Yang Meirong walking down the stairs. She was wearing a coffee-colored suede loungewear, and her hair was a little gray. Her face was a little haggard, and compared to before, her mental state was extremely poor. Indeed, too many things had happened recently. Bella was in a coma, Huamin had a miscarriage, and Jingde was missing. Either one of them was enough to be a fatal blow to her. Yang Meirong wasn't feeling well and stayed in the hospital for a while. Seeing that her son was tired and couldn't take care of himself, she insisted on being discharged from the hospital and going home to recuperate. Chin Chu hired the best nanny to take care of her. Although the nanny took good care of her, the old woman had been anxious and angry, so she wasn't in a good state. "Chu, you're here. Mom, how are you feeling?" Yang Meirong was slightly moved by Qin Chu's call of Mom. Because of Jing De's death, she had always blamed Qin Chu and Huamin. She hated her daughter and Qin Chu. After the truth was revealed, Yang Meirong always felt sorry for Qin Chu. Fortunately, this child was open-minded and did not hold any grudges against her. She treated her well. Although they weren't as close as biological mothers, this was already the best relationship between mother-in-law and son-in-law that could be seen. It's an old problem. It's nothing. Why didn't you go to work today? Is the company still busy? I'm not busy. There's nothing much to do in the company. Chu, where's Mian? I haven't seen her in a while. I called her, but she didn't pick up. I asked Jishin, but he didn't know either. Are you guys hiding something from me? Yang Meirong missed her daughter, so she could only tell Qin Chu. There seemed to be some complaints as well. After all, Huamin had never gone so long without visiting her. Except for the time when he was kidnapped by Hua Xiqin. Mom. Jishin probably forgot to tell you that Mian took Pudding and Little Bean on a trip. Ah. Where did you go?
They went to the United States to visit my second uncle. Then, they went to a few countries with the kids. The two kids are on winter vacation and are making a fuss at home. They keep saying that they want to go out and play, but I don't have time to accompany them, so Mian went. No wonder they haven't come for so long. When will they be back? Soon. It's almost the new year, so they'll be back before the new year. This year, we're going to celebrate the new year with you. Okay. Let's celebrate together. Hearing Qin Chu's words, Yang Meirong's face was obviously much happier. Mom. Here's a card for you. There's some pocket money in it. Then, I asked my foundation to give you 20,000 yuan a month for living expenses. Keep the money in case you need it in the future. Chapter 4407. Unexpectedly, Yang Meirong shook her head. Chu, don't give me any more money. I already have a lot of money. Mian and Jishin often give it to me. Yang Meirong refused to accept it. She wasn't a money-minded person. Mom, it's not a lot. Take it. It's just a little token of my appreciation. I've been busy recently and haven't been able to visit you. You must take care of yourself. After Qin Chu's repeated persuasion, Yang Meirong finally accepted the money. Then, the two of them chatted casually. Qin Chu agreed to stay for lunch, which made Yang Meirong very happy. She instructed the nanny to make some celery and pork dumplings. Then, she planned to make a few dishes for Qin Chu. The two of them chatted and talked about Huamin's childhood. Qin Chu was very interested in Huamin's childhood. Because of Huamian's personality, she rarely talked about the past. Therefore, when Yang Meirong occasionally talked about Huamin's naughty childhood, Qin Chu liked it very much. He kept sticking to his mother-in-law. Mom, tell me more about Mian when she was young. She must be very cute. Hearing Qin Chu's words, Yang Meirong became even more excited. She walked straight to the cabinet and took out an old photo album. Let me show you a photo of this girl when she was young. Yang Meirong flipped open a photo. It looked like Huamin when she was 2 years old. There was a red dot on her forehead, and she was dressed very old-fashioned. However, her chubby face was very cute. When I gave birth to Mian, your Uncle Jing and I didn't have much money. Hua Zhenghai, that dead man, didn't care about us. So we didn't give Mian much milk powder. We couldn't afford it. We would buy her some cheap rice noodles. She was very obedient and ate everything. She ate a lot. At that time, I even complained to Uncle Jing that this child would grow up to be a big fatty and that it would be difficult for her to find a boyfriend. Yang Meirong laughed. Qin Chu also laughed. This was the first time he saw his wife when she was 2 years old. Yang Meirong flipped to the back again. This photo was taken when Mian was 6 years old, not long after Jixin was born. Your Uncle Jing and I were focused on taking care of him, so we didn't have much time to take care of her. Back then, she was in kindergarten, and when she came home from school, she would sometimes help me take care of Jixin. She was very obedient and never picky when it came to food. She never asked me for new clothes. Mian is such a good child. I'm proud to be her mother. At this point, young Meirong actually started sobbing. Qin Chu knew that his mother-in-law didn't know Huamin's true identity. Huamin didn't seem to want to tell her anything. It was during a conversation a long time ago. Huamin made it clear that Yang Meirong was my mother. It wasn't easy for her to raise me. This white lie would remain like this for the rest of my life. Don't let her know. Don't let her be sad. I'll be her daughter forever. Mom, don't cry. It's okay, it's okay. I'm old and sentimental. When I think about the hard days in the past, I feel like I've let my daughter down. Your Uncle Jing and I dote on Jixin more. Mian has been working hard for this family all these years. Chu. At this point, young Meirong held Qin Chu's hand. Mian is still young. It's okay for her to have a miscarriage. Just take care of her body and continue to have more children. Don't treat her badly. Do you understand? My daughter is really a good girl. Don't let her down. Mom, I won't. I love Mian very much. I won't let her down in this life, or the next life, Qin Chu promised his mother-in-law in an extremely gentle voice. He even made a promise in the next life, at this moment in the underwater palace. Suyu woke up in a daze and found himself trapped in a white crystal room. Chapter 4408. He felt an inexplicable pain in his head. Suyu covered his head and slowly got up. He still felt weak. He vaguely remembered being captured and locked up. Then, he met Mian, talked to her, and even had a meal, and then, an earthquake. That feeling was indeed like an earthquake. The earth was shaking. Just like on the plane within, Suyu had a strange feeling. It was as if there was an answer that was about to come out, but he couldn't say it. He felt like there was something important that he didn't have the time to tell Mian. After Suyu got up, he looked at the white crystals in the room around him. His mind was in a mess, with Qin Chu's instructions, Huamin's smile, and his mother's amulet. Yes, amulet. Suyu reached out to touch the amulet around his neck. Fortunately, it was still there. Looking at the scripture on it, Suyu subconsciously began to recite, Namo, Hailuadna, Taloi, Namo, Aya, Palyaji Emperor, Shubalaya. Sure enough, the feeling of the earth shaking came again. If it was in the past, Suyu would definitely not dare to recite it. He would definitely stop, afraid that something would happen. But now that things had come to this, he was already locked up here, unable to do anything. He might as well see what the earth shaking behind the scripture was. Therefore, Suyu closed his eyes and ignored the shock, collapse, and loud noise in front of him. He still stubbornly recited, Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Mahajalanigya. What followed was a loud noise. When Suyu opened his eyes, he felt the white crystal in front of him collapsing bit by bit. Then, his vision turned black. He fainted again. No one knew how much time had passed. Suyu woke up in a daze and heard someone calling his name softly. Suyu, Suyu. Wake up, wake up. Hearing the familiar voice, Suyu opened his eyes forcefully. Huamin. Upon seeing Huamin, he was very happy. However, Suyu felt that something was wrong. He looked around and was dumbfounded. Wasn't this the wooden hut that Zhao Qingya had imprisoned him in back in Yunnan? Why was he here? Su Yu. Are you thirsty? Come and drink some water. With his big belly, Huamin helped Su Yu up with great difficulty. Su Yu only felt that his body was covered in wounds. During the few days in Yunnan, he had indeed been tortured by that pervert Zhao Qingya. Su Yu could still feel the faint injury on his back. Huamin held the cup and fed him a mouthful of water. Su Yu looked up at Huamin. What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? Huamin smiled. At this moment, Huamin was also in a sorry state. In order to save Su Yu, he came to Yunnan alone and was also tortured by Zhao Qingya. Mian. Why are we here? Su Yu reached out his hand in a daze. He wanted to touch Huamin's familiar face, but he stopped himself when he was inches away. All these years, the whole world knew that he liked Huamin. However, he had never taken advantage of Huamian or touched her as a good friend. Not even once. So, at this thought, Su Yu resisted the urge to move. Huamin could tell what Su Yu wanted to do and was a little embarrassed. Then, he smiled. Are you stupid? You lost your memory after sleeping. Were we all captured by Zhao Qingya? Was I captured first and then you came to save me? Su Yu asked. Huamin nodded. After hearing this, Su Yu was confused again. What was going on? Why did he suddenly return to the wooden hut in Yunnan from the underwater palace after chanting the Great Compassion mantra? Could it be that time had flowed back? Did he transmigrate to the past? Chapter 4409. Su Yu didn't know how to explain all this to Huamin. What's wrong, Su Yu? You don't look right. Mian, if I said that I transmigrated, would you believe me? Transmigrated? Which year did you transmigrate from? The past or the future? The era of Emperor Qin or the era of Emperor Taizong? Huamin obviously didn't believe his transmigration and even joked. Mian, I don't know how to explain it to you, but Su Yu didn't finish his sentence. The door was suddenly pushed open. What are you two doing? Are you acting out a sad couple? Huamin. You're good to any man, but why are you so cruel to Huasiqian? At this moment, Huasiqian stood at the door in a black leather jacket with a devilish smile on his face. Su Yu and Huamin both knew that the person with such a smile wasn't Huasiqian, but Jack. It's none of your business who I'm good to. Huamin glanced at Jack's face coldly. TSK. How is it none of my business? That infatuated fool, Huasiqian, lives in my body. He's been tricked by you for the rest of his life. If it weren't for you, he could have had any woman he wanted. He had the whole family's wealth, but he fucking eloped with you to a deserted island. You almost killed him. Huamin, as a doctor, you keep saying that you're saving people, but you're forcing Huasiqian into a corner. You vicious woman. Jack cursed at Huamin. If it was before, Su Yu wouldn't be able to stand it when others cursed at Huamin. He would definitely get up and beat them up. But now, Su Yu was confused. Huasiqian, or rather, Jack, appeared in Yunnan at this time. Did that mean that Layla was here too? Then, the past was repeating itself. This meant that the current Jack was no longer Jack. In order to make Layla believe him, Huasiqian acted as Jack, and it was very realistic. Even he and Huamin had been fooled. He only found out the truth when he was on the run. When he was surrounded by Layla and her subordinates at the gas station, Huamin's bomb was snatched away by Huasiqian. That was why it exploded into pieces in an instant. All of this was as vivid as yesterday. Su Yu had never dreamed that he would see Huasiqian again. It was true, so at that moment, he almost couldn't react. He also forgot to stand up for Huamin and protect her. Yes, I'm that vicious. So what? Kill me if you can. Cut the crap. Huamin didn't seem to want to talk to this perverted Jack. Jack smiled. Do you think I don't want to? If it weren't for the fact that my master still has use for you. Do you think I would keep a bastard like you? Huamin, God knows how much I want to cut you into pieces. You don't deserve Huasiqian's love. Huamian, on the other hand, looked calm and didn't say anything. He continued to take out white gauze and bandaged Su Yu's wound from Zhao Qingya. Mian. He's not Jack, Su Yu said in a low voice. What? Huamin thought he heard wrong, so he asked again in a low voice. Mian, he's not Jack. He's Huasiqian. He's pretending to be Jack to make Layla believe him. Su Yu lowered his voice and repeated seriously. How do you know this? And, who's Layla? Huamin widened his eyes and looked at Su Yu in confusion. Huamin looked at Su Yu in confusion. Huamin hadn't met Layla yet, so he didn't know what Su Yu was talking about. Chapter 44:10. Su Yu was about to say something when Zhao Qingya walked in. Why are you talking nonsense with them? Do you want to let go of your old flame, Huasiqian? Upon hearing this, Huasiqian turned around and grabbed Zhao Qingya's neck. He pressed her against the door. Oh. What are you doing? Don't do anything. This is my territory. Zhao Qingya was a little scared. She didn't know the truth and thought that this was Huasiqian's real body. She didn't know that Jack and Huasiqian shared a body. Bitch, be nice to me. And you and your little adulterer. You're just young master's dogs. Don't be so arrogant. If we're dogs, then you're the same. No one's nobler than the other. Zhao Qingya was still the same as before. She was terrifyingly stupid and angered Jack with just a few words. With Jack's temper, he didn't need to spoil her. He took out a dagger and pressed it against Zhao Qingya's neck. Then I'll kill you right now, bitch. Enough, Jack, a voice came from not far behind them. Su Yu and Huamin looked over. It was a woman wearing a golden mask. From her voice, they could tell that she was a young woman. Layla. Su Yu frowned slightly. He knew that Layla had appeared. Huamin didn't know who Layla was, but he could tell that this woman was someone who even Jack was afraid of. At the woman's order, Jack and Zhao Qingya immediately fell silent. What are you two doing? Are you having fun? Jack, Zhao Qingya, if you ruin my plans, I'll chop you all up and feed you to the wolves. Everyone knew that Layla wasn't joking, so they didn't dare to make a sound. Layla slowly walked into the wooden house. Then, she slowly squatted down and looked at Huamin's face. She smiled. This face is really cute. You're the one who calls the shots here, right? If so, please let Su Yu go. Mian, Su Yu was stunned. He didn't expect this to happen. Because there was no such scene before, Layla had never had such a conversation with Huamin. At least, he hadn't seen it before. Could it be that things had changed after he transmigrated back? Su Yu's heart was in a mess. He couldn't make sense of it. You're really good to Su Yu. Layla smiled. However, her voice was very similar to Huamin's voice. Perhaps Huamin hadn't realized this because she didn't know that Layla was a woman who looked exactly like her. However, Su Yu already felt his hair stand on end. Alright, Huamin, since that's the case, why don't we play a game? You commit suicide, and I'll let Su Yu go. When Layla finished her sentence, everyone fell silent. Only Zhao Qingya had a smug smile on her face. God knew how much she hated Huamin. No, Mian, don't listen to her. She's a person who doesn't keep her word. Anxious, Suyu grabbed Huamin's arm tightly. No one noticed that Huasiqian's expression changed slightly when he saw Suyu holding Huamin's hand. Huamin didn't answer Suyu. Instead, he looked at the masked woman seriously. Chapter 44:13. In the Underwater Palace. In the room where Lu Yan was locked up, she was still in a deep sleep. And had been guarding her as if he couldn't get enough of her. And wasn't stupid. He knew that if it weren't for Professor Lu's words, he might have been killed by these people long ago. After all, to these people, he was just a shrimp. His death was nothing to be regretted. He didn't have the weight of Suyu and Qin Chu. The guards would bring some food from time to time. And wasn't in the mood to eat, but he knew that he had to fill his stomach. What if Goddess Lu Yan woke up? What if she could escape from this predicament? He didn't even know where his master had gone. Anne's last memory was when he followed his master to the North Pole. He slept in the supply station, and when he woke up, everything had changed. And picked up a piece of bread and drank it with a glass of water. Suddenly, he felt a dull pain in his chest, and he felt a sweetness in his throat. Then, the corner of his mouth started bleeding. What's wrong with me? And didn't remember being injured, but he was bleeding for no reason. Moreover, he felt as if his internal organs were being pulled out by someone. That feeling was an indescribable pain, and spat out a mouthful of blood. He threw away the bread in his hand and knocked over the glass of water. He lay on the ground and began to convulse, in the main hall of the underwater palace. Linya saw everything clearly. There were surveillance cameras in every room and every place. She could see who she wanted to see at a glance. "Where's Suyu?" Linya asked. Messiah knelt on the ground in a panic. "Why are you kneeling? Speak. I'm asking you. Where's Suyu?" Linya's voice was cold, and there was even a hint of blood in it. "Master. Suyu, he has already escaped." Messiah checked the room where everyone was locked up. She found that Suyu's room was empty. When she pulled out the surveillance footage, she found that Suyu had indeed disappeared. He was in that well-sealed room. He escaped. "Do you know what you're talking about? How could anyone escape from my underwater palace?" Linya couldn't believe it. "My lord, please calm down. Suyu didn't escape from us. He had something on him. Furthermore, he was chanting some sort of incantation, and disappeared in an instant. I suspect that Suyu has cracked our secret." "Impossible, how is this possible?" Linya was shocked. "Didn't you see it earlier? Only when he breaks it and goes back, can he see that scene. That's why he can move that follower of his. That kid just vomited blood. If he continues to move that follower, he will really die." The Messiah explained everything. Linya didn't want to admit it, but she had to. Such a meticulous plan, such a grand scheme, and a perfect trap that even Professor Lu was involved in. However, Suyu, that little brat, managed to escape. Suyu, this fish that escaped the net. It's good that he escaped. He's not very useful anyway. After Qin Chu comes here, I'll get the red demon and get them all in one fell swoop. Linya clenched her fists tightly, not showing any mercy at all. Of course, when she said, catch them all in one fell swoop, that included Huamian, and the child in her belly. Chapter 44:14. Seeing that An had vomited blood, Soo didn't dare to move anymore. He was so scared that he hurriedly put little An down on the spot. Then, he sat by the bed and observed carefully, just as Soo expected, after he stopped touching An and gradually recovered. His face regained its color, and his breathing became stable again. What exactly is going on? Who can tell me exactly what happened? Soo was dumbfounded, completely dumbfounded. He suddenly took out his phone and looked at the date on it. It was indeed more than a month before the Chinese New Year. It was the day Huamin's due date was approaching. It was also the day he was kidnapped by Zhao Qingya, but what happened after that? Did he transmigrate back? But why was An like this? There were too many mysteries that made Soo puzzled. He didn't dare to touch An. He picked up his phone, put on his coat, and went downstairs. Then, he took out the black Lamborghini Sixth Element that he hadn't driven for a long time from the garage. He sped away from the private villa. The first person Soo called was Qin Chu. Qin Chu had always been smart and quick-witted. Soo wanted Qin Chu to help him analyze what was going on. However, Qin Chu didn't pick up the phone. Then, he called Huamin, but it was the same. Strange. Why isn't he picking up the phone? In Soo's impression, Qin Chu rarely didn't pick up the phone. In order to give Huamin and the children a sense of security, Qin Chu didn't turn off the phone. The phone was almost never turned off or muted. It was always at its loudest 24 hours a day. It didn't make sense that he couldn't hear it after so long. Soo didn't give up and called again, however, no one picked up. Soo felt that something was wrong, but he still decided to go to South Hill Manor to take a look. If he had really transmigrated back, time would have reversed. Then everyone should be here. Qin Chu and Huamin were probably the same people they were before the accident. If Soo had told everyone in advance what was going to happen later, then, could it have prevented the series of tragedies that happened later? 15 minutes later Soo's car slowly entered South Hill Manor. The bodyguards of South Hill Manor recognized Soo's car, so they didn't stop him. Soo parked the car directly in front of the castle. Then, he opened the door and got out of the car. Uncle Li, the butler of South Hill Manor, walked towards him. Uncle Li, young Master Soo, it's so late, why are you here? Are Qin Chu and Mian home? Soo asked anxiously. Yes, both young master and madam are here. Upon hearing Uncle Li's words, Soo heaved a sigh of relief. At least they were all here. They were all fine. They were not in the hands of those bad guys. Then can I see them? I have something important to say. Soo said to Uncle Li while panting. Yes, please come in with me. Uncle Li knew the relationship between Soo and his wife and husband, so he warmly welcomed Soo in. They're probably asleep. Let's knock on the door and wake them up. Uncle Li said carefully to Soo as he led him upstairs. Soo didn't say anything, but his heart was in a mess. He had a bad feeling, but he couldn't tell what it was. In short, he was very unhappy. They arrived at the door of the master bedroom on the second floor. Uncle Li bent down and gently knocked on the door. Young Master Soo is here to visit. For a long time, there was no sound from inside. Young Master, Madam. Young Master Soo is here to visit you. Uncle Li deliberately raised his voice. But there was still no response. Before Uncle Li could say anything, Soo kicked the door open. Then, he stared at the big bed in the master bedroom. Uncle Li, are Pudding and Little Bean at home? Yes, they're sleeping in their room. Uncle Li was stunned. He didn't know why Soo was so crazy tonight. Take me to see them. Hurry, hurry. Suyu couldn't wait to see the twins. He just wanted to confirm one thing. He wanted to see if the twins had the same problem as their parents and Shaoan. They looked like they were asleep, but they couldn't move. If they moved, their lives would be in danger. Suyu didn't have time to knock on the door and barged in, looking at the two children sleeping on the princess bed. His heart was about to clench. No, Pudding and Little Bean. Nothing must happen to you. Nothing must happen to you, Suyu kept muttering. Then, he strode to the bed. In less than half an hour, Suyu brought the two children to the Su family's old mansion. The Su family's old mansion's defenses were very strong. Because of Lord Su's official position, there had always been 3 layers of defense. There were so many bodyguards around. It was precisely because of this that Huamin had stayed at the Su family's house during her pregnancy to avoid Hua Xiqian's harassment. Of course, Lady Su had a different reaction to their sudden arrival. Before entering, Suyu was worried that his mother would be affected as well. However, when he saw her coming downstairs in her pajamas, he dismissed this thought. It's so late. Why are you here? Why are the 2 babies here too? Lady Su obviously didn't know anything about this. Chapter 44:19. Emichim, so if you're like me, and encounter something evil, if you trust me, I'll take you to the countryside to find that person. I think he might have a way. Seeing how serious Heng was, Suyu was tempted. After thinking for a moment, he replied on WeChat, okay, take me there. It's best if you leave now, I'm in a hurry. Okay, come pick me up at my house now. Let's go now. Little Heng was also very happy, and immediately agreed. On his way to pick up Heng, Suyu called his friends again. He wanted to discuss it with them, especially Old Wei, who was smart. Unfortunately, they still did not pick up. Suyu suddenly had a terrifying thought. Could it be that everyone had been tricked? Lycan, Qin Chu, and Mian. At the thought of this, Suyu shivered in fear. 5:20 a.m. The sanitation workers had already started to clear the snow on the road. The winter in the north was always so cold that it made people shiver. Even in the car, Suyu felt the extremely low temperature in the car. After picking up Heng, the 2 of them headed straight to the place Heng had mentioned. They didn't say much along the way. To be honest, Suyu was terrified by what this kid had said, so he didn't dare to talk about it. There were many legends about the supernatural in the north. Among them, the House Protector Immortal and the Shaman God were especially legendary. The older generation firmly believed in this. Many times, when children were sick, the hospital couldn't treat them, but these so-called charlatans could. Suyu didn't believe in these things at first because he was from the army. Therefore, he had always been an atheist. Therefore, he never believed in the safety talismans that his mother gave him. However, he had no choice but to believe all of this, because such a thing had happened to him. Although he didn't know if this rural Taoist priest that Heng was talking about really knew some martial arts. However, at this moment, he could only try his best. That was because he had a vague feeling. If he couldn't solve this matter, then there might be a lot of trouble. Reality proved that Suyu's feeling was right. If it wasn't for Suyu this time, everyone's lives might be in danger. Of course, this was all in the future. After running for more than 3 hours on the highway and hundreds of miles, after getting off the highway, they walked for another 2 hours on a rural road before arriving at the mountain village that Heng mentioned, Jadewater Village. It was a mountain village that lived in seclusion deep in the mountains. The only way to the outside world was a seemingly ordinary narrow path. Su Yu's Lamborghini's sixth element was indeed beyond recognition. But fortunately, they had managed to reach their destination. At the end of the village, there was a very old thatched hut. "It's here, big brother Su Yu." Heng pointed at the shabby house. At this time, the door of the house was pushed open, and a man in tattered clothes walked out. His hair was rough and his clothes were tattered. Because ups. However, Su Yu saw that he was a cripple. He walked up and down. "He's a cripple." Su Yu frowned slightly, as if he regretted coming to this place. He felt that it wasn't reliable. Don't underestimate him. It said that he broke his leg because he helped someone transcend the tribulation and revealed the heavenly secrets. Is he that godly? Su Yu was skeptical. At that moment, Heng shouted from afar, "Master Wu." When the man heard this, he slowly raised his head. He saw Su Yu's complicated gaze. "You guys can go back. I can't control his matters, nor do I have the ability to." The man only glanced at Su Yu and coldly rejected the request. Chapter 44:20. Su Yu was skeptical at first, but this person's words made Su Yu feel that it was interesting. Of course, he wouldn't leave. Nothing had been resolved, so why should he leave? After going through so much trouble on the mountain road, he had suffered so much. If he left now, wouldn't he have come here for nothing? Therefore, this time, before Heng could say anything, Su Yu walked over. "Master Wu." "Hello, I'm Su Yu. I don't care who you are, I can't control your matters." The man's tone was especially cold, and he didn't even look at Su Yu. "Master Wu, please help my brother. This is my relative's brother. He's a very nice person." Seeing that his master was being unreasonable, Heng quickly stepped forward to smooth things over. "Even if he's your father, I can't help him." The man was still determined. "Master Wu, I know you're not an ordinary person. You're not one of those swindlers. Otherwise, we wouldn't have driven so long to find you. Let me put it this way, as long as you can help me, I'm willing to spend any amount of money." So you had always been a godly tycoon and believed that there was nothing money could solve. That was why he dared to make such a boast. Do you think you're so great just because you're rich? Let me tell you. You're just lucky. Otherwise, all of you would have been wiped out. If you're dead, what do you need money for? You're really ignorant. Since you're back, just live your life peacefully. You're really lucky. Master Wu's words almost made Su Yu kneel down in excitement. If he had doubted this person's strength before, but now, Su Yu was about to give him a thumbs up. He didn't say anything to Heng along the way and didn't reveal what he had encountered. Or rather, no one knew about the strange things that had happened to him. But this dirty-looking man knew. If he wasn't a god, then what was he? Hearing this, Su Yu grabbed the man's arm. "Master Wu. I'm here this time to ask what's going on. Please help me. Don't you Taoists always talk about fate? There are so many experts in the world. It's fate that I'm able to come to your house. You can't just leave me in the lurch." To his surprise, the man frowned slightly. He glanced at Su Yu and said impatiently, "Didn't I tell you that you're fine now? You came back safe and sound. Why do you want me to save you? What about my friends?" Upon hearing Su Yu's words, the man's expression changed. "It's good enough that you're able to come back. Don't worry about the others, they won't be able to come back, and it's about time, it won't be long, they'll all die." Hearing this, Suyu was even more dissatisfied. She got down on her knees in front of the man. Master Wu, I know you're an expert. Please forgive me for offending you just now. I'm sincerely here to ask for your help. I don't know what you need, but feel free to state any conditions. I'll definitely try my best to fulfill them. Please save my friends. I don't even know what happened to me. This in itself is a form of irony. You, or rather, you guys, offended someone. You've been targeted for a long time, so you were lured into a trap. Suyu, this isn't a small matter. The other party is an expert, and I can't solve it. I can't beat him. It's not that I'm a coward, but I really don't have the ability to help you. Really? So, why don't you ask someone else? Seeing that Suyu had knelt down, this person's attitude changed a little. Hearing this person's words, Suyu's heart sank again. Chapter 44-21. Seeing this, Heng couldn't stand it anymore. He had known Suyu for so many years, but he had never seen his proud brother so humble. Master Wu, please help my brother Suyu. He's really in trouble. Just treat it as doing good. Suyu lowered his head and gritted his teeth. He felt terrible. Suddenly, the amulet fell from his neck. This person reached out and caught it. His speed was so fast that it made people click their tongues. You've been to Prajna Temple? My mother asked for this. She's been friends with the abbot of Prajna Temple, Nun Xian, for many years. So that's how it is. Ha, what a coincidence. It seems like I have to take care of your matters today, the person called Master Wu chuckled. What are you? Suyu was confused. That person looked at the amulet, then skillfully tied a knot and put it around Suyu's neck. Nun Xian is my senior sister. Master Wu's words surprised Suyu. Logically speaking, Prajna Temple was in a different direction from this place. They were in different directions. This person actually knew Nun Xian and they were from the same sect. It had to be fate. It was unknown when it started snowing outside, and the weather was gradually getting colder. Come in with me, you two. The man looked at the sky. After he finished speaking, he turned around and entered the shabby thatched hut. Heng helped Suyu up and whispered into his ear, Brother Suyu, Master Wu wants to help you. Although his words aren't nice, he's a good person. Emichim, Suyu nodded and didn't say anything. He bent down and followed Heng inside. Although the straw hut was shabby, the stove inside was very warm. After the man entered, he flipped over and sat cross-legged on the stove. He took out a cigarette from the iron box beside him and started smoking. The smell was choking. Master Wu, come, take mine. Suyu was a man of honor, so he took out a soft pack of chunghwa from his pocket and handed it over. Master Wu glanced at Suyu, took the cigarette, and put it out. Heng, you go out first. Wait for him in the car. This person had miraculously sent Heng away. Suyu also felt that he really didn't want others to know about this kind of thing. If one didn't know, they would think that he was crazy. Okay, brother Suyu, I'll wait for you in the car, all right. After Heng left, Suyu said impatiently, Master Wu. Without waiting for Suyu to finish, the man fiercely slapped Zhonghua. She glared at Suyu and asked, Tell me, how did you come back? Ah. Suyu was stunned. Don't play dumb, you can't hide it from me. You're the only one who came back. Tell me, how did you come back? Suyu thought about it carefully and felt that he should be talking about his sudden transmigration. Therefore, he recounted the whole story to her. At the end, he didn't forget to add, Master Wu, I've already transmigrated twice. I think it has something to do with this amulet and the Buddhist scriptures. Every time I wear the amulet and chant the Great Compassion mantra, I'll transmigrate. But for some reason, I've only transmigrated twice. Now, no matter how I chant it, I won't move. I want to know what's going on. Do you think you transmigrated? The man asked Suyu. Ah. I think time has reversed. I've returned to the past. Ha! What a stupid donkey, the man said. Suyu's face darkened. You didn't transmigrate at all. Don't think about it yourself. If it's not transmigration, then what's going on? You've been set up by someone, or rather, you've all been set up by someone, the man repeated. Set up. Suyu was even more confused. Chapter 44:22. When he heard that it wasn't transmigration, Suyu was confused again. Because in his mind, he had transmigrated. And he clearly remembered that he had transmigrated twice. Every time, it was an amulet and a Buddhist scripture. Then, the scene before his eyes began to collapse. However, now that Master Wu said that it wasn't transmigration, it completely overturned his previous wild guess. Suyu was a little anxious. He moved closer to Master Wu and explained anxiously, Master Wu, can I see the future? Why do I feel like I'm seeing what's going to happen in the future? My friends are all captured, and I have to save them. Aren't your friends sleeping at home? Master Wu exhaled another puff of smoke. Suyu was confused again. That's right. When he woke up, he found Qin Chu and Huamin sleeping on their beds. But, no, Master Wu, they're not sleeping. They must have been hit by some evil trick. Because when they were asleep, I couldn't wake them up. And as long as they moved their bodies, they would appear to be on the verge of death. What's going on? Suyu knew that he was speaking incoherently, but he believed that Master Wu could understand him. Sure enough, after hearing Suyu's words, Master Wu fell silent. Instead, he lowered his head and finished the cigarette in his hand in a few puffs. He then threw the cigarette butt to the ground. Then, he looked up at Suyu. Master Wu, do you need my birth characters to deduce? Suyu thought that these fortune tellers would basically ask you for your birth characters and birthplace before starting to read your fortune. Master Wu only smiled mysteriously. No need, I don't need those things. Let me put it this way, Suyu, you and your friends have been tricked a long time ago. What did you get hit by? Suyu froze. Do you know about nightmares? Yes, it's a type of nightmare. Then, you encounter something scary in your dream, but you can't wake up. Suyu briefly explained the meaning of incubus. Master Wu nodded. Something like that. But what does this have to do with the incubus? Suyu still couldn't make sense of it, so he asked anxiously. I'll explain it to you briefly. Someone made up a big dream. To combine the dream and reality. In the end, he lured all of you into the dream. Your friends are all in that dream now, but you, accidentally escaped. After Suyu heard this, his entire body was petrified. This was the most ridiculous thing he had ever heard of. Master Wu told him that everything he had experienced before was a dream. Even 10,000 alpacas would not be able to express this feeling. No, how could it be a dream? It's too real. Everything inside, the explosion, the dead, everything is still vivid in my mind. I still can't forget it. Suyu didn't want to admit Master Wu's words. He didn't believe that it was just a dream. Whether it was Layla, the dead Huasiqian, Qin Chu, who had mysteriously told him where to save Huamin, or the pregnant Huamin, how could all of this be just a dream? Didn't you hear what I just said? I mean, someone is deliberately luring you into the dream. It's a gradual process. It's a continuous combination of dream and reality. In the end, reality is abandoned and all of you are lured into the dream. Then, how did I escape? Su Yu was dumbfounded. Master Wu rolled his eyes at Su Yu. What do you think? You stupid donkey brain, think carefully. What did you encounter that made you start your so-called transmigration? At the mention of this, Su Yu's eyes lit up. Then, he subconsciously touched his amulet. It's an amulet, and I chanted the Great Compassion mantra. Chapter 44-23. Master Wu glanced at Su Yu and said calmly, "That's right, it's the amulet and the Great Compassion mantra. You look as stupid as a donkey, but I didn't expect you to know how to chant the Great Compassion mantra. I have to say that you're quite powerful. Perhaps the person who set the trap didn't expect anyone to escape, Master Wu. I still don't understand. You mean I used the amulet and the Great Compassion mantra to escape from the dream, right?" Su Yu asked. Master Wu nodded. But why did I escape twice? The first time, I escaped from an underwater palace, but I returned to the time when I was kidnapped in Yunnan. Then, I suddenly returned to my home from Yunnan. How do you explain all of this? That's because you're already in the second level of the dream. No matter how powerful the amulet and Buddhist scriptures are, they can't send you back to reality in one go. If I'm not wrong, the underwater palace you mentioned just now should be a dream within a dream. The second level of the dream, and then you return to the first level of the dream. Then, I don't know what happened, but you accidentally escaped from the first level of the dream and came to the real world. Are you still not satisfied after coming back? You even used your amulet and Buddhist scriptures to try, but it was useless. Master Wu smiled mysteriously. Su Yu immediately nodded excitedly. Yes, I thought I could still transmigrate, silly. This is the real world. You're already back, so how can you transmigrate? No, Master Wu, if it's really a dream like you said, then when I woke up, I realized that the amulet wasn't on me. I went back to the old residence and asked my mother for it. I don't know why, but it suddenly went to my mother. Su Yu lowered his head and touched the amulet on his body. He couldn't explain why the amulet wasn't on him when he woke up. Then think carefully. When did your mother give you the amulet? I was about to go to the North Pole to save my friend. Before I left, I missed my mother and went to see her. She gave it to me. Have you ever thought about it? It was actually a dream. Your mother didn't give you any amulet at all. It was your own consciousness that forced it into your dream. Su Yu couldn't say anything. After all, there was too much information for him to digest. Calm down first, I'll drink some water. Master Wu coughed twice and got off the ground to get a bowl of water from the stove. Then, he took 2 big gulps. When he returned, Su Yu seemed to still be in a state of confusion. Have you thought it through? Alright, Master Wu, even if I escaped because of the amulet and the Great Compassion mantra, what about my friends? Why aren't they awake yet? When will they wake up? Su Yu didn't want to care about the dream right now. He just wanted to ensure that Huamin and Qin Chu would wake up safely. Are you stupid? You were lucky enough to escape, and you still expect your friends to come out. You probably don't know how powerful the person who set this trap is. You young people nowadays are really young, like children. You don't know anything. Master Wu seemed to think that Su Yu's words were childish and ignorant. Master Wu, I think this is a little too ridiculous. Incubi are usually alone in their dreams. How can we have a dream with so many friends and such a large group of people? Without waiting for Su Yu to finish, Master Wu took out another cigarette and lit it himself. He sneered. That's why I said you're too young. Kid, have you heard of hypnotists? Chapter 44-24. Suyu was stunned again. Hypnotist? Are you talking about the kind of hypnotist who waves a pocket watch in front of you a few times and makes you fall asleep? Master Wu shook his head. It's not that simple. Young people like you only know how to smoke, drink, and spend money to pick up girls. Why don't you look at the useful and valuable information? 2 years ago, I saw on the internet that there was a high-level hypnotist in a research center overseas who used his own hypnotism to make people see their previous lives. It said that there's a person in America who even recalled his previous 9 lives. Fuck. That's so weird. Suyu was dumbfounded. This isn't science fiction or superstition. It's really high-tech. The hypnotists you know are just scratching the surface. Those who hypnotize patients with psychological disorders can only be called psychologists, not professional hypnotists. Master Wu, you know how to surf the internet? Suyu was embarrassed. He looked at the man in shabby clothes in front of him. His hair was like a chicken's nest, and he looked like a country bumpkin. Therefore, when Master Wu said these words about surfing the internet and high-tech, Suyu was really shocked. Of course, us Taoists are also keeping up with the times. If we don't surf the internet, we'll definitely be eliminated. Occasionally, when I don't have enough to eat and am poor, I'll read people's fortunes in my own online shop and make a living. Suyu was speechless. You still have the time to talk nonsense with me. Do you want to know who set you up? Master Wu glared at Suyu. Yes, Master Wu. Please guide me. Suyu had a vague feeling that this guy was not an ordinary person, so his attitude became even more respectful. To put it simply, you guys met a high-level, or even a super hypnotist, who gave you guys a primer so that you guys gradually entered a dream and started hallucinating. Wait, Master Wu, what do you mean by a primer? What do you mean by hallucinating? Suyu wanted to figure out every detail. If Master Wu was a liar, he wouldn't be able to handle these sharp questions. The primer is a person who appears beside you. She has met with your friends in the dream. She will take the opportunity to put the primer on you bit by bit. To put it bluntly, it is a kind of hallucinogen that can make you enter the dream, and you won't be able to discover it. As for the hallucinations, you need to think carefully. When did something outrageous happen to you? From the moment the outrageous thing happened, you are basically already in a half-awake state. That's ridiculous. Let me think. I was kidnapped by Zhao Qingya. No. Oh, I remember now. It's my good friend. She has a father who died many years ago. He actually came back. After a checkup at the hospital, they found out that their genes are the same. It's too fucking ridiculous. Later, they said that it's a clone. Even more ridiculous. Master Wu's words made Suyu try his best to recall everything that had happened recently. Suddenly, it occurred to them that Jing's disappearance was the most ridiculous beginning, but everyone gradually believed it. Master Wu nodded. It's indeed ridiculous for a dead person to come back to life, but you guys believed it. Yeah, we all thought it was really a clone. After all, there's such technology now, Suyu said. It makes you gradually believe in ridiculous things, which is the power of the incubus. Because what happened next was more and more ridiculous, but you all accepted it completely. Master Wu's words made Suyu's hair stand on end again. Yeah, clones, blood-sucking Layla. These ridiculous things, he, Qin Chu, and Mian, actually believed them. This was too fucking strange. Why did he feel like he had just woken up from a dream? Let me tell you first, there are 3 types of people who will appear in your dreams. The first type is you and your friends, real people who were lured into the dream. The second type is created by the dream creator, illusory and fake, but you think they are real. The third type is the dream creator himself, but dream creators are very powerful. They control the entire dream and won't let you notice anything. In the dream, their identities are also hidden, so you can't tell at a glance. If you just said that the person you know died in the dream, if he was created by the dream creator, then he will be fine. If he was lured into the dream like you guys, then he will be completely dead. Because if he died in a dream designed by someone, then he will really be dead. Su Yu's eyes widened. Then my friends are still in the dream. Are you saying that once the dream creator attacks them, they will never wake up? Perhaps she was someone created by the dream creator, or perhaps she was the dream creator himself. She must not be someone who had been lured into a dream, because in the real world, Linya was dead. She was a living dead, and her body was still frozen in Iceland. These were all things that Su Yu learned from his secret conversations with Qin Chu in his dream. Qin Chu and Huamin were both highly intelligent people, but once they entered a dream, they couldn't get rid of it. It was as if they were scared half to death every night when they slept and had nightmares. Because no one would be so awesome to know that they were dreaming. This was a terrifying thing in itself. Su Yu thought about it for a long time and finally figured out what was wrong. Then, he grabbed Master Wu's sleeve excitedly. What are you doing? Stupid donkey, let go of me. Master Wu might not be used to being pulled by a man like this. My friend has 2 children, but they didn't enter the dream and are still alive. Does this mean that dream creators don't work on children? Su Yu remembered that the twins were still intact, so he wondered if they were immune to children. Master Wu looked at Su Yu with disdain. Dream on. Those dream creators can even drag dogs into their dreams. Do you think they will let children go? Is your head filled with dog shit? Master Wu really felt that this kid in front of him was stupid. Ha! That's not right. Then why are my friend's children fine and not asleep? Su Yu still felt that the matter with Little Bean and Pudding was a little strange. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.